Hey you guys, welcome to this week's tracking that I'm going to share with you from my bedroom. I was going to redo my hair, but I'm just trying to bring you my tracking exactly as it is. So here we are. Today I want to show you that tracking is not onerous, that tracking is not another thing to do on your to-do list, and I want to get you started off. I want to tell you about the most important part of our cycle when we are looking to harness our energy, when we are looking to understand our fertility, and when we're looking to understand the health of our menstrual cycles. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is that tracking can look different on different days. I've got a couple of examples of ways that I have been tracking recently, but it changes over time, and that's great because we all change over time too. So last week I was looking to track my physical symptoms, which were unusually, I wasn't feeling great last week, and that was an unusual time in my cycle for my body to not be feeling great. So I kind of used some colours, I drew myself forwards and backwards. This was my cloudy head. I was adding the moon in, and then some words to describe like my physical symptoms and how they were relating to my emotions. Sometimes I'm trying to make my tracking a little bit of a special time, particularly around the new moon or the full moon, and then I might get out a few more art materials. I might spend much more time, like 30 minutes or so, and I might let my kids be around as well because they can do some cutting and sticking. So I'm kind of maybe thinking about some bigger questions, some bigger themes, as well as focusing on where I am at in my own cycles. Someone gave me this really beautiful moon planner, so it's got like the different moons, the astrology, what I'm focusing on. So that's a monthly one. I'm going to look a little bit more at monthly tracking by the end of the week. But what I'm going to share with you today is kind of like the simplest, most direct way to track, which is literally pen and blank paper. I really recommend that you track with pen and paper rather than an app, because when you're writing, even if it's a word or two, there's actually some science to show that we are processing things, and so we understand ourselves a little bit better if we can actually bring pen to paper. We retain a little bit more memory and connection to the experience because we've written it down, and also it's an absolutely beautiful way to have record. I mean, I do have a lot of journals like under my bed in the loft, but it's a really beautiful way to kind of like reconnect with yourself around a birthday or at New Year or one of the solstices, when you want to spend a little bit more time reflecting, where was I this time last year, where do I want to get to. So getting out your old journals can be really eye-opening for that, or if you're ever struggling with anything health-wise as well. So to track today, all I want you to do is put the date, 13th, not great on dates, 10th, 24. Then I want you to put where the moon is. So it's the full moon in 3 days. So I'm going to write waxing gibbous, which is like the last stage of the moon before full moon. Or you could also write it full -4. Which is a really helpful way if you start to connect with the moon cycle and you get connected with the new moon energy and the full moon energy. You can kind of build up to it and kind of wane down away from it, waxing and waning it, and so you can just do -4, add 4, or whatever day you're on. Okay, and then my cycle day, so CD 20, yeah, day 20. So for me, I have a roughly 27-day cycle, so I'm in my inner autumn. So write that down if you know it. We're going to do more of the seasons tomorrow. Inner autumn. Okay, so that's like all the info that I'm going to write, because when I'm looking back or when I'm looking for patterns, I want to see what that information is. So I'm not tracking my temperature at the moment, but that's one of the 3 vital signs that is in my other video that I've attached for you. To track your temperature is absolutely key if you want to use your cycles for contraception and you haven't done that before. You need at least 3 months reading. It's also a great way to track your progesterone. So if you're having troubles with shorter or longer cycles, so particularly short or particularly long cycles, or if you know that you have PCOS or you have some symptoms that are kind of pointing you towards that, tracking your temperature can be really great way of finding out if you're pregnant as well, if you want that information really quickly. So right now I would write down my temperature and also cervical position. So again, I talk about this in the other video. And then the final thing would be cervical fluid, which there isn't a whole lot of post-ovulation. And also I'm 39, so as you get older, cervical fluid can often lessen, particularly after ovulation. You'd be drier anyway. Okay, I promised myself these videos wouldn't be too long, so I'm going to carry on. So all I'm going to do is ask myself 3 questions and I'm going to give 3 really brief answers. How do I feel today physically? So if you're tracking along with me, just write down physically and write either a sentence or 3 words. So I'm going to write mine now. Okay, I've just made a little note like here, like 2 sentences. How do I feel emotionally? So for this one, I'm going to take a moment. So I'm going to invite you to as well. I've actually got some face oil with me. Probably should have told you that before we got going. I'm going to rub a little bit of oil on my hands. I'm going to breathe it in deeply. Take a deep breath with me, maybe. And then I'm just going to check in. So you do the same if you like. Maybe have a little check in. Have a little scan around your body. Is there anywhere that you can feel a feeling? Then make a note if you get something. If you don't, write dunno. That's important information too. And then finally, how do I feel energetically? So by this I mean, do I have the ability to give more out to others, or do I want to hold my boundaries very strong and take space for me? Do I feel like I have an excess of energy? Do I feel spread thin? Do I feel like people are encroaching my personal space? Or do I feel like my kind of energetic self is very wide and people can easily bounce off? Yeah, there's some ideas. So energetically. Okay, so I've done my tracking with you. I'm really happy that you kept me committed there, guys. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to commit by the end of the week. If you have any questions coming up from this video, then just email me back, be in touch. So just a really quick recap, have a watch of the 3 signs of fertility video to understand some of the signs and symptoms that your body is going to be telling you about in terms of your cycle and ovulation, because ovulation is the absolute point of a menstrual cycle. So that's where we really want to focus. Am I building towards a healthy ovulation and releasing away from a healthy ovulation? So once we understand if we're ovulating regularly, so kind of for most of our cycles, and we're ovulating at a similar sort of time in the month, then we can start to look for the patterns that build around that, and we can start to understand the power of our fertile self. Remember that you only need to write 3 words down to do some really thorough tracking every day or almost every day. As long as you're noting the date, your cycle date, maybe the moon, maybe you want to note the weather or the season of the year, and then get on with asking, how do I feel physically? How do I feel emotionally? And how do I feel energetically? So happy tracking, and I'll be in touch tomorrow to talk a little bit more about the inner seasons of our life and of our cycle.